"You're not invited to the holiday dinner this year," Margaret announced, adjusting her designer scarf with perfectly manicured fingers. My mother-in-law's words hung in the air of her opulent living room, or rather what she thought was her living room. "We've decided to keep it exclusive, family only." I sat quietly on the antique settee, the same one I personally selected from an auction in Paris last spring, and took a slow sip of my tea. The delicate porcelain cup had been my grandmother's, though Margaret didn't know that. She thought everything in this mansion belonged to her family's collection. "But I am family," I replied softly, setting down the cup. "I've been married to Andrew for 3 years now." "Oh, sweetie." The condescension in her voice could have filled an ocean. "Marriage is just a piece of paper. You'll always be the girl from the wrong side of the tracks who got lucky with my son." The front door opened and closed, followed by the click of expensive heels on marble. Amanda, my sister-in-law, swept into the room like she owned the place. The irony almost made me smile. "Mom, are you actually talking to the charity case?" Amanda's lip curled as she looked me up and down. "I thought we agreed, no strays at the holiday table this year." I smoothed my simple cotton dress, remembering the day I bought it. The same day I'd signed the final paperwork for the estate, actually. Such a strange coincidence. "Andrew won't like this," I said, though I knew my husband was away on a business trip and wouldn't be back until tomorrow. "He expects me at family gatherings." Margaret waved her hand dismissively. "Andrew will understand. We need to maintain certain standards. This isn't some soup kitchen where we feed anyone who walks in." "Besides," Amanda added, dropping onto the Italian leather sofa, "we're having the governor and his wife this year. We can't have you embarrassing us with your common ways." I thought about my common ways, the years I spent earning my master's degree in business administration, the careful investments I'd made, the real estate empire I'd built before I ever met Andrew. They knew none of it, of course. When Andrew and I married, we'd agreed to keep my success private. He loved that I wanted to be loved for myself, not my wealth. "The governor?" I raised an eyebrow. "In my experience, Governor Mitchell prefers intimate gatherings. Are you sure he'll be comfortable with your extensive guest list?" Margaret's eyes narrowed. "And what would you know about the governor's preferences?" I smiled, remembering the monthly charity board meetings I attended with James Mitchell and his wife, Susan. They'd become good friends over the years, though I'd never mentioned my connection to the Williams family. "Just an observation," I said mildly. "Well, if I'm not welcome at dinner, perhaps I should speak with Mr. Harrison about alternative arrangements." "Who's Mr. Harrison?" Amanda demanded, suddenly alert. "The property manager." I stood up, smoothing my dress. Someone needs to oversee the estate, after all. Margaret's face flushed red. "Property manager? Don't be ridiculous. This house has belonged to the Williams family for generations. We don't have a property manager." I picked up my handbag, a simple leather tote that probably cost more than Amanda's flashy designer clutch. "Actually, you do. He reports to the owner every month about maintenance costs, staff salaries, utility bills." I paused, watching comprehension slowly dawn on their faces. "You didn't think all those expenses paid themselves, did you?" Amanda jumped to her feet. "What are you talking about? Daddy handles all the house expenses." "Your father hasn't paid a bill for this house in over 5 years, I said quietly. "Not since the bank foreclosure. That's when the current owner bought the estate." Margaret's face had gone from red to white. "Foreclosure? There was never any foreclosure. Robert would have told me." "Robert was too proud to tell you he'd lost everything," I said gently. "He was grateful when the new owner allowed your family to continue living here, maintaining the illusion that nothing had changed." "You're lying," Amanda spat, but her voice trembled. "This is our house, our family home." I walked to the massive oil painting above the fireplace, a portrait of the original Williams family patriarch. With careful fingers, I lifted it slightly, revealing the small wall safe behind it. "The deed is in here," I said, watching their faces, "along with all the paperwork from the sale. Would you like me to open it?" Margaret's knees gave out, and she sank into a chair. "How do you know about the safe?" "Nobody knows about that safe except the owner," I finished softly. The silence that followed was deafening. I could almost see the pieces clicking into place in their minds, my quiet confidence over the years, my intimate knowledge of the house's history, the mysterious way bills were always paid despite Robert's temporary financial setbacks. "No," Amanda whispered, "No, it's not possible." I pulled my phone from my bag and brought up Mr. Harrison's contact. "Shall I call him? He can bring the documents right over. Though I suppose that might put a damper on your holiday dinner plans." Margaret's hands were shaking as she gripped the arms of her chair. You own our house. All this time." "I own the estate," I corrected gently, "and I've been happy to let you live here, to maintain your social standing, to protect Robert's pride." I never intended to reveal this, but I looked between them. These women who had spent 3 years treating me like something scraped off their shoes. Well, I suppose even charity cases have their limits. The next morning, I arrived at the estate early, knowing Andrew would be home soon. As I pulled up to the mansion, I saw Robert, my father-in-law, pacing the front steps. His normally immaculate suit was wrinkled, and his silver hair was disheveled. Clear signs he'd had a sleepless night. "Is it true?" he demanded as I stepped out of my car. "Margaret told me," she said. His voice cracked, and for the first time since I'd known him, Robert Williams looked old. I gestured toward the garden path. "Walk with me." He followed me silently to the rose garden, my favorite spot on the property. I'd restored it myself after purchasing the estate, working with the gardeners to bring back the heritage roses that had once made this place famous. 5 years ago, I began sitting on a stone bench. When the bank was about to foreclose, you met with someone who offered to buy the estate privately. Do you remember? Robert's face drained of color. The investment firm representative. They allowed us to stay, kept everything quiet. "That investment firm was mine," I said gently. "I started it after selling my first tech company at 25. When I heard the Williams estate was in trouble, I saw an opportunity to preserve something beautiful." "But you never said—" He collapsed onto the bench beside me. "All these years, even after you married Andrew, I fell in love with your son before I ever revealed my connection to the estate. And when I saw how much the family's reputation meant to you, I decided to keep things as they were." Robert buried his face in his hands, the shame of it. "Living in our own home as family," I finished firmly. "That's all I've ever wanted to be, but your wife and daughter." "They told me about last night." He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. "Margaret hasn't slept. Amanda's been crying since she got home. They think you'll evict us." I plucked a perfect red rose, inhaling its sweet fragrance. "I would never do that to Andrew's family. But things need to change, Robert. The cruelty, the exclusion, the constant reminders that I'm not good enough, it has to stop." "Lily," Andrew's voice carried across the garden. I turned to see my husband striding toward us, his face tight with concern. "Dad, what's going on?" "I got 6 messages from Mom about some emergency." Robert stood shakily. "Son, there's something you should know." "I own the estate," I said simply, watching my husband's face. "I bought it 5 years ago when the bank was foreclosing. I've kept it quiet all this time, but your mother and sister's behavior last night." Andrew's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Then, to my surprise, he started laughing. "Oh God, Mom must be having an absolute meltdown. That's why she was calling me at 3 a.m., babbling about safe combinations and property managers." "You're not angry?" I asked cautiously. "That I kept this from you?" He sat beside me, taking my hand. "Angry? Lily, I've watched them treat you like dirt for 3 years while you quietly paid their bills and maintained their lifestyle. I've wanted to tell them about your success so many times, but I respected your wish to be accepted for yourself." He kissed my knuckles. Though I have to admit, the image of Mom and Amanda realizing they've been looking down their noses at their own landlord, almost worth all the drama. Robert cleared his throat. "The holiday dinner is still happening," I said firmly, "but with some changes. The governor and his wife will come. They are old friends of mine from the charity board. And I'll be there, not as a charity case, but as the lady of the house." "Margaret will have a fit," Robert muttered. "Margaret will adapt," Andrew replied, his tone brooking no argument. "It's time this family learned some humility. Starting with you, Dad. You let your pride nearly destroy us once. Don't let it poison our future, too." Robert nodded slowly. "I'll talk to them. Make them understand." He straightened his shoulders, some of his old dignity returning. "And thank you, Lily, for preserving our home, for protecting our name. We didn't deserve such kindness." As Robert walked back to the house, Andrew pulled me closer. "So, my brilliant, secret real estate mogul, Any other surprises I should know about? I smiled, thinking of the sealed envelope in my desk. Well, I did just buy the Hamilton summer house on the coast. You know, the one your mother's been envying for years? Andrew threw back his head and laughed. You're incredible. Remind me never to underestimate you. That, I said, kissing him softly, is a lesson your mother and sister are learning right now. The holiday dinner arrived with a flurry of snow and tension. I stood in the grand foyer, greeting guests alongside Andrew, while Margaret and Amanda hovered uncertainly in the background. They'd spent the past week alternating between awkward attempts at apologies and strained silence. Lily, darling. Susan Mitchell, the governor's wife, swept in and embraced me warmly. James and I were thrilled to receive your invitation. Though I must say, I was surprised to learn about your connection to the Williams family. Not half as surprised as they were, Andrew murmured, earning a sharp elbow in his ribs. Governor Mitchell chuckled, shaking my hand. I trust the Children's Hospital fundraiser is still on track for spring. The board's been lost without your guidance these past few weeks. From the corner of my eye, I saw Margaret's jaw drop. Amanda clutched her mother's arm, both of them staring as their supposedly unsophisticated daughter-in-law chatted easily with the state's most prominent couple about million-dollar charity projects. The evening progressed with an elegant smoothness that only old money could appreciate. I had arranged everything personally, from the vintage wines to the holiday decorations that honored the Williams family traditions while adding subtle modern touches. During dinner, I noticed Margaret watching me as I discussed art restoration with her bridge club friends, her expression a mixture of disbelief and dawning respect. Amanda sat quietly, pushing food around her plate, flinching every time her friends gushed about the amazing renovations to the estate. A toast, Robert said suddenly, standing and commanding the room's attention, to family, both old and new. And he paused, meeting my eyes, to my daughter-in-law, Lily, whose generosity and grace have taught us the true meaning of class. Margaret dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Amanda stared at her plate. I raised my glass, catching Andrew's proud smile. After dessert, I found Margaret alone in the library, staring at old family photos. I was horrible to you, she said without turning around. All these years while you were protecting your family? I finished gently. You're home. She turned, tears streaming down her face. Why? After how we treated you, why show such kindness? I joined her at the bookshelf, picking up a photo of Andrew as a child. Because this is what family does. Real family, not the kind that demands perfect pedigrees or bank accounts, but the kind that supports each other through good times and bad. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not, I agreed. But you have it anyway, though I expect things to be different going forward. The door creaked open and Amanda slipped in. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like shame. The governor's wife just told me you're the anonymous donor who funded my old art school scholarship program, she said quietly. The one that kept it from closing last year. I shrugged. Education should be accessible to everyone, regardless of their background. Isn't that what you call being honest? A charity case. Amanda flinched. I was wrong. About everything. You're twice the person I'll ever be. No, I corrected her. I'm exactly who I've always been. You're just finally seeing me clearly. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Andrew was seeing his parents out, I stood in the garden, watching snow dust the rose bushes. The sound of footsteps made me turn. So, Andrew said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Was it worth it? Keeping your secret all this time? I leaned back against his chest, thinking of Margaret's tears, Amanda's humility, Robert's pride transformed into gratitude. It was worth waiting for them to learn the right lesson. Money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just gives you more responsibility to do good. And now? Now we move forward. As a real family, I turned in his arms, smiling. Besides, I think your mother might actually be looking forward to having me help plan next year's holiday dinner. Speaking of plans, Andrew grinned. When are you going to tell them about the Hamilton summer house? One revelation at a time, darling, I laughed. One revelation at a time. As we walked back into our home, truly ours now, in every way, I thought about how sometimes the greatest gifts we can give are the chances we offer others to become better versions of themselves. Margaret and Amanda had a long way to go, but they'd taken their first steps. And next year's holiday dinner, Well, I already had some ideas about that.